Good afternoon to all of you. Today, we want to look at how to decrypt TLS information with Wireshark. So, the first we're going to do is we will have to log a session, log the SSL key sessions that we are going to use to do the decryption. So normally what happens is that anytime you make an HTTPS request, you over the internet, the HTTP is encapsulated into the TLS information. So the TLS is happening within the layer 4 of the OSI reference module. Where it's basically provided a level of security. So in some situation, it could be that you are doing the TLS or you are doing or possibly you're doing it you're doing SSL. So if you take the reference model, basically referring to the layer 4 of the OSI model, so you're going to find TLS. It's either you are doing TLS or you are doing SSL. And these are the authentication mechanisms that we're going to discuss at layer 4. Remember that at layer 4, your main encapsulation modules at layer 4 is either over TCP, transmission medium is over TCP or UDP, right? Whereas your session layer, okay, so your session layer or with the way you want to present, if you are doing TCP, could be HTTPS, okay, there's a motion. So the HTTPS is encapsulated in TLS in TCP. Then it goes through the various layered protocols down here, all the layered protocol here, all the way to the physical layer before it goes out of your socket or of your laptop. So what we're going to look out for is that if TLS section is fully encrypted, it's an authentication mechanism to provide a tunnel for encryption of HTTPS traffic. So once it has that kind of level of encryption, and of course remember that here the application layer is just above. So application layer could be in HTML or whatever format that you want to look out for. Okay, that's the application. It could be you trying to open an SSH connection. All right, could be maybe turning in a URL. So those are happening at the application layer of the OSI model. All right. Okay. So the goal is this. So this is the application layer. We have the session or basically presentation layer. All right. We're talking about the transport layer. So I'll be within the transport layer and you're catching that. Okay. So let's clean all this up and then let's get into it. So in order to do this, the first thing I have to do is I want you to capture all the SSL exchanges. So I'll need a keylogger. So first you go straight to your environmental variables. So by searching for environmental, you choose edit environmental variables. Go to environmental variables. You come here, you choose new. And then the variable name is very specific. It's all caps lock. So you do SSL keylog file. Okay, just like that. Then your variable value or the location can be in any format. So you can just type SSL keylog. Okay, all right. Then make sure that the extension is a .log file. Then you browse for where this file should be saved. So I want to save it just on my desktop. So once I choose my desktop settings, I can just choose OK. So you can see the locations right there. Choose OK, and then you can close this as OK and choose OK. Many a times when you selected it, it takes a very long time for it to come. So you find that sometimes people want to do a reboot. You can decide to reboot your laptop for it to come, or you can go ahead to start doing your packet capture and then point Wireshark to it. By that time, it could take a roughly about 2 to 3 minutes for it to come up. So I'll go ahead to start capturing my packets. So I'll turn on Wireshark, and then I'll be using my interface. Then the URL link which has security, which I want to go to, saying use Chrome. To Chrome, and then because I want to make sure that I'm not getting a cache from my laptop, probably because I've gone to a link before. I'll choose to use the new Unity code. The new Unity code gives you a direct connection. You can use that for that and then private communication. Okay. And the link that I want to go to, for example, is my professor's link. So I can choose www dot. Okay, so I'll be using this particular one. Okay, so I'll move this guy into one direction here, and then I'll move this into that direction. Then I'll start by capturing on my Wi-Fi card because I'm connecting to my Wi-Fi. So I'll let it start capturing, then I can start going over this link. So www dot, this is the link I want to go to. So once I go over there, it's capturing, and then this session is secured, all right, over TLS. So it also doesn't matter any other link that you basically browse over the internet that is exchanging also has the same kind of information. And I'll make sure I close that so that I can get the TCP disconnect messages as well when I'm done. So with this, I can stop Wireshark, and then in order to let me know filter out the right connection to the server that I just spoke to, I can just go straight to my CMD and then try to think to resolve www.its.ohio.edu. Okay, so when I ping this guy, it's going to give me the guy's public IP. Okay, and just hold on, just to respond. Any domain that I just find myself in. But basically, it resolved it. So I can start by filtering. This is supposed to be responding, not be timing out. Probably where I find myself. Okay. So to filter my connection, I'll just do IP dot address to the connection that is to the server that I spoke with, and then I'll apply. Take just a little bit time. So my PV6 address is here too. Okay. So once I have that connection set up, so this is getting me full connections, okay? So I'll just right click. Normally what I do is to follow the conversation. So conversation filter, I want to get the IP before. So this will give me the series of conversations, and then I can always sort this guy so that it fully arranges. Okay, good. So now we can explain. All right. So we are, we've captured the TCP, the TLS packets, and then I'm going to arrange it in this way so that it's very easy. So let's go to preference, we go to layout, and I want to get packet datagram. So packet datagram will let me be able to see the various layers that I want to communicate. I'm communicating with so easily. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be dealing with is going to be this type of packets here. Okay, so this first three packets right to this point. So this packet is going to be the three-way handshake. Get back here, that is too big. Okay. Okay. So first pick these three packets which constitute the three-way handshake, which happens for every connection that is using TCP. Okay. Then we will come discuss the TLS information. We start with TLS, this one, and then from there we will come to the second TLS, and then everything that you exchange will basically be done with TCP. So we will explain that, and this is an encrypted information. We will explain that, and then this is also coming from the server. So basically, that is what we will be explaining. Okay. So if we look at the three-way handshake, you realize that the first thing that the client sends, that's the client IP, private IP to a public IP. So that's from my laptop. The first thing that the client is sending to the server is to request for a sync to do synchronization with the server, and then that gives you a sequence number of 0. The client predicts a large window size to begin with. The window size is just a buffer, all right, of how much it can contain, and then SIM packets are always 0. In terms of the TCP session, they don't carry any headers in the TCP session. So you go to the TCP session, of course, source port is that sequence is 0, and it has nothing to acknowledge because it's starting, that's the window size, and then the payload basically length is 0. Okay. So that's the same packet. Then they has it has the MSS. Okay, so the MSS is giving us it's similar to MTU for network engineers. So the MSS is saying that within the window size that we have here, what should be the maximum size of a packet that can be put in there. That means that the MSS basically times a window size, it should be able to give us how much. It's just like length times breadth, which gives you area. Okay. And then we have the selective acknowledgement permit. The selective acknowledgement permit is saying that, for example, if I send you an information, if the client sends you if the client sends you an information from one, let's say, packet to 100, okay, the server can respond with an acknowledgement of 100, which means that in reality he has received between 1 to 100. Okay. And if he didn't receive, for example, the 20th packet he didn't receive, he can still send, after he has sent 100, he can still send 20, okay, to the client, which means that because the client first saw 100 and then the client now sees 20, it definitely means that the server did not receive 20, and therefore allows the client to send 20 back to the server. And this gives you a more optimal way of managing the communication. Okay. So let's clear this off. So once the client sends the sync, the server has to acknowledge with the sync ACK. So in sync ACK, he has to acknowledge that he has received the client sync request. So you can see that ACK is 1. Okay, and the server has to send its own sync. So when he sends its own sync, then the server predicts a window size. Its own window size, we can see, is relatively small compared to what the client suggested. And that is because he's a server, he's serving many other clients. And of course, he agrees on the MSS, that is like the MTU sizing. And then he also agree on the window scale, or the window scale, he has given it half of it. So finally, by the time they are done with these three charts, they are going to agree on what is the scale factor that they are going to use together. Okay. All right. So a number of factors gets in here to choose that Windows skill factor. Then the client acknowledges that he has received it. So now once the clients have acknowledged this, the server quietly waits for the client to send its TLS information. So in the TLS information, the first TLS information is the client hello packet. And inside the client hello packet, let's see the content of what the client hello packet is. TLS information over there is kind of encapsulated into the TCP packet frame. So I go over there. So what is very key in the client hello packet is the client hello handshake information. It contains a random number. All right. So the client sends a random number. That random number will be used in the generation of the um of the pre-master secret key that will be used. So gradually, what happens that asymmetric encryption is costly to establish in terms of the computer's processing power. So you want to use asymmetry to hash to do a send a hash over the information, sign a hash, send over, and then when it's done, based on that, using elliptic curve or basically Delphi-Hellman or RSA, you will be able to exchange keys and establish a symmetric key, and then be able to use symmetric key for future informations. So the random number acts like a seed to it. It provides a session ID. All right, so the session ID says that, hey, this establishment I want to do with you, this is the session ID I provide. Supposing that when it went to the client, when it went to the server, and then the server already realized that this session ID is there, he realized that this client has connected to me before, and that's related to cache servicing. And therefore, based on that, he will continue with the client in that order. I will not have to go through authentication all over again. Then the most important thing here is the cipher suits. So the cipher suits are the various encryption protocols that the client supports. Okay, so you can see that the client TLS supports, for example, elliptic curve Delphi-Hellman. All right, as this means that this is how that's for the key exchange mechanism with AES. Okay, so the AES is symmetric. So that means that after he has using elliptic curve Delphi-Hellman to exchange the pre-master secret key, he can shift to AES to use symmetric key encryption, all right, and then support SHA-256. So all these are various cipher suits that is sending to the server for the server to choose. Normally, server engineers are the ones who choose, who on the server side configure what are its supported server suits, and those are because they based on vulnerabilities, what has been tested out to be the various vulnerabilities found there, and then they able to tell that, for example, in all this, maybe the server only can support only about three, because asymmetric encryptions or encryptions or digital signatures, what have you, algorithms are safe as the algorithms have not been detected with any vulnerabilities. So there are a number of documentations on that side. Okay, then the other side of this, after the safer suits, is this part where the server, that he wants to talk to is always in this information. Yes, server name. So server name, you can see the length of that, and then it gives you that he wants to talk to the ITS. So you can easily do a filter. That is what I just do here. You can always, whatever you want to do, you can just apply as column or whatever, it will just come for you. So this allows me to easily be able to tell what the connection is. Then that is basically all. It doesn't have any other information it wants to basically share. So it shares, so in the client hello, all it says that, hey, I want to connect to you because I've been asked to get an HTTP request information from you, and and I support TLS. And then the TLS version, the maximum TLS version that I support is also here, TLS 1.2. So it's supposing that the server said, for me, I support TLS 1.1, then they initially have to negotiate it back to TLS 1.1. All right. Okay. Quick one, let me see whether our capture has come back on our screen. Okay, it is there now. So that's what I said. So it takes a little bit of time, but definitely it's going to come. Other times, people want to reboot their laptop for it to come. So if you do it and then it's not installing, it doesn't mean that it's not working. You just need time for it to work. Okay. Okay, let's go back. Okay. So that is the client sending the hello information. We've seen what are the key, the session ID, the random number is there, the supported cipher suits are there. And definitely whatever that information that he sent in, the server needs to acknowledge it. So you can see that the server is acknowledging reference to the client's hello. And the client hello, let's see the client hello sequence number. Okay, so the client hello sequence number is 1, all right, but the length of that message is 517 selective acknowledgement. So 517 plus 1, that gives you 518. So I expect the server to acknowledge 518. So you can see it's acknowledging 518. Okay, all right, so that is that. Okay, and this is the window size that the server is agreeing to, and that is also because of the multiplication of the scale factor. Okay. Calculated window size is this 128 times 123 will give us the calculated window size of the server. You can easily just try that up here. 128 times the window 123 should give us the full. Okay, so that's the window size that I say it can support the maximum. And of course, you didn't want to go beyond that. If you use TCP stream capture, you realize that in Stevens graph is, and then TCP stream analysis can see whether it is hitting on the window or not. So let's continue here. So he sends the app message, and then now it's time for the server to respond. So one, two, three messages are as a result of the server hello, because the server hello is sending very key informations which are relatively large. So in the server hello, he's going to say that, okay, so this is the cipher suits that I suggest that we should go by, and that is because of what it has been configured to do. So let's take a look at what is in the server hello. So of course, he also tells that he supports this TLS information. He has a random number to also help him generate the pre-master secret key when it's time for that. He has the session ID that he's using for this, and here you are. He has selected the cipher suite that he wants to go through, and this is based on what the client also had is part of what the client has chosen. So once he has told the client to use this, the client will go ahead and use this. And then we also pick up the he also provides the certificates. Okay, this is how they are going to compute their master key information. So this part is important. So the certificate is the CA, the trusted organization. So for example, if the server wants to talk to a client, it's important for the server to send its certificate. Okay, and then the certificate are two. You can have a self-signed certificate, okay, or a certificate signed by a CA. A CA is an authorization body, that's a third party who issues certificates out in a form of way to trust, because it has to do with mutual trust. Client and server necessarily cannot trust each other. So what happens is that the server will buy a certificate from a CA or body, and then that CA body will basically provide connection with this. So they could come out with public key and then private key pair, okay, and then will also contain the CA trusted public key information, so that any client we want to verify the authenticity of this server can actually use the public key of the CA to do verification with the CA, and then based on that can build that there's trust between the client and then the server. All right, so that is how certificates are. So let me clear this part and then we can continue. Okay, so introduce the certificate that I want to use, the certificate status, who issued the certificate. So suppose that the server had a chain of certificate authorities, you would have gone through. So this is OCSP. Let's check who OCSP are. OCSP. So OCSP certificates. So you can see that OCSP on their own is a certificate body. I want to get to the official site. So OCSP is an online certificate status protocol, common schemes to maintain that. Okay. All right. So that gives you, so there are a number of certification CA, examples of CA authorities. Okay. I hope, yeah, certificate authorities. So in certificate authorities, there are so many of them that you can actually go by. All right. So many certificate authorities that goes into it. IDN here, DigiSet, SQL, Global. So these are all, anytime you build a website, you want to go for this to get a CA. All right. Or if you don't go for a CA, buy a CA, then that means that you want to do self-signed certificate. And self-signed certificate, mutual trust has its own related um, trust levels that it can take you to. All right. So back to here, it gets longer. So now cut it up and I'll put it together. Okay, so back here, so he has given a certificate, the certificate status, the server key exchange, how they are going to install their pre-master secret keys, okay, so that they can move from asymmetric to symmetric. And seeing that it's telling the server that they are going to use Delphi-Hellman, Delphi-Hellman, and then he has also introduced his public key. The server has given a public key that he supports, okay, and then also these the signatures that is sending, so that if the client wants to verify the CA of itself, then he can verify. And finally, he sends a server hello. And at this stage, this is all the information I can give you. I've given me the server, I've given the public key, I've given you my CA if you want to do a trust, if you want to do a trust verification, I've given you my CA public key. So if you want to verify, you can use that to increase onto the CA and therefore get the CA to respond to you. I've also given my session ID, which does this, and then I'm also giving you a random number as a seed that will help us all generate the pre-master secret key. So now that the client has the server, after verifying with the CA he trusts, he can now negotiate and begin to send information the to the server with encrypted information. Okay, so that's this from here. Of course, this is an acknowledgement to that, so definitely the client needs to respond and say that, yeah, so I trust that, and then based on that, I've, I've also come out with my public key. All right, because I've verified the CA and I generated my public key as well. And then with the public key information, the random number information that the server giving the server certificate key exchange information here, and the server telling it's a elliptic curve. The client has also been able to generate his public key, and at this stage, he has also generated his pre-master secret key, which is going to encrypt it with the public key of the server. Okay, so it's going to encrypt the pre-master secret key. So encrypted handshake, yes. So that's the first level of encryption that happens. So he encrypts the information with the pre-master secret key, and then he sends the encrypted information to the server for the server to also generate this pre-master secret key. The server uses private key to decrypt that kind of information, then compares the two pre-master secret key. If they say, he knows that both of them have the same symmetric key now installed through the use of Delphi-Hellman, and then based on that, they can now begin to send encrypted information. So once he did that encryption, the client started sending more encrypted data, application data as necessary means that it contains HTTL. Okay, let me pause here, and then way to symmetric in storing their pre-master key, and then the client has also encrypted this pre-master key that he computed based on the random number, the public key that the server shared with it. Okay, the server random its own random number session ID that he got from both the server, and that he has computed his pre-master secret key and has encrypted. This is the first level of encryption, the TLS information that was sent. And after he started sending more encrypted data, we are waiting the server to acknowledge. So the server acknowledges all the information that he has sent to the client key information, all right, in response to that. Okay, so the server then also says that, okay, let's go ahead. So now I also switch my side to that particular cipher, so I told you to choose, and then in there I also computed my pre-master secret key. Okay, and I've compared it and I found out the two bit is the same thing. So I've also encrypted that information, that pre-master key to you, so that you can also verify. Okay, so that's so the same thing that the client did here is the same thing that the server has also done here, because now the server also has the public key of the client being shared within here. It knows the session ID of the client, or it knows the random now the client generated. It can also generate a pre-master secret key, and then based on that, both of these guys are going to compare. Okay, so once they are going to compare that information, and it turns out that they are pre-master secret key. So the pre-master secret key was computed basically something like this. And there's an RFC about this for those who are interested in. So the server. So we have the server part. So we have the server part, and then we have the client part. Okay. So the client had a random number. I'll call it random. He had a session ID. He knows his own public key. Based on that, he has generated that. He also knows the public key of the server. He also knows the random number of the server. He knows the session ID. He can go ahead to compute his pre-master secret key. Okay, pre-master secret key. All right, and then encrypt this pre-master secret key and then send it to the server. Okay, the server also has the same level of information that the client also has at this stage. So the server can also compute the same pre-master secret key. All right, and then compare it with what the client has given to it. If it turns out to be equal, okay, he knows that he's talking with the same client. Okay, and then what it does is that the server also takes an information and then encrypts it with its own pre-master key, so that the client will verify that it is true that both of them has the same thing. That is what is happening inside this particular message that we are seeing here. Where is that server change? Yes, this particular message. Okay, so the server send the information back then to the clients for it, and then the server also starts encrypting that information. So all what is the information that they are all encrypting here? The information that they are all encrypting here is the HTTP information. So that's why I said that HTTP is being run over. So you can see that in the communication, you can't see any HTTP. It's well encapsulated in the TLS. Okay, so if we are going to do decryption, all these are going to be decrypted for us, because we know the pre-master secret key, and that is captured within the SSL key logs that will being changed as they were exchanging the pre-master secret key. Your laptop will have to install the pre-master secret key, because it is between you and that, but anybody on the route out there will not. It's just like using the Delphi Hellman working. So that's the same thing that the key log file that we developed in the video gives to us. So if I double click this key log, I should be able to see a number of session keys. This one open. Okay, so you can see that client traffic, session prelog. Okay, that goes server side also. The first beginning has to do a little bit of, if I'm not forgetting, it's that the rest could also vary. The first part of the pre-master secret, I think it has to do with the little bit of the public ID or something. I'll have to refer to it, but then normally the beginning always is the same for both sides. Okay, yeah, and it's always the same. So builds the pre-master secret key. So all these keys have been used, and based on that, we can tell Wireshark to come here and then use this pre-master key to decrypt, so I can see the HTTP packets. So we go to edit, in go to preference again. We go down to protocols, drop it down. You want TLS, you can just type TL, and there you are. You browse to your file location, which is on the desktop. You give it that file. This is a keylog. Just open, just okay, and that's it. It decrypts the whole packet for you. So now the TLS application, the one you saw application, they have all been decrypted, and you can now see your HTTP settings, your HTTP get information, what's in the HTTP get information. Okay, all the information, yeah, basically as plain text, some levels you can always get that, and then the window, the exchange of the various HTTP information. And then also, let me stress on this part. When I was closing the session, definitely the client need to send a fin information, a fin saying that finished, and they acknowledge the previous packets the server sent to it. The server also needs to agree that he has finished, and then he also acknowledge the fin of this packet, and then finally the client has to acknowledge, and then the connection will basically tear down. So that's all for me. That's all for me for today about decrypting TLS information. For any information, you can always ask me in my YouTube page. Have a blessed day, and God bless you.